Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
Oh, so cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they ran out of raw cookie dough in the green room.
No one could have seen it coming. Whoopi Goldberg, live on air, unraveling in front of millions. The moment was so intense, it felt more like a soap opera finale than a daytime talk show. What triggered this emotional storm? None other than Fox's sharp-tongued commentator, Greg Gutfeld. He didn't hold back, and the fallout was immediate and brutal. The show started off like any other episode of The View. Spirited opinions, laughter, and a little tension. But once Gutfeld entered the conversation, the mood shifted like thunder rolling in. His words weren't just criticisms, they were calculated blows, and each one landed with stunning accuracy. Whoopi tried to brush it off, but the damage was already done. As the panel tried to maintain their rhythm, Whoopi's usually fierce confidence started to shake. Her responses came slower, her tone grew heavier, and the tension in the room skyrocketed. The audience, stunned into silence, could feel something historic happening. Gutfeld didn't yell, he didn't curse. He just calmly laid out a case that sliced right through the emotional noise. When he mentioned her past comments about sensitive historical topics, the temperature dropped.
Ran down the hallway.
The rapture is here.
The rapture's here. And then also I learned that the cicadas are coming.
Cicadas.
Cicadas
Although I love
for the first time in
Cicadas
like
cicada.
No,
100 years.
no.
For the first time in many, many years.
No,
And so-
every 17 years this happens.
well, that's not what I read, but maybe, maybe you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that, either climate change exists
That's one
or
of the
something
points.
is really
So
going on.
returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground. It can't.
It happens, and the eclipse, they've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Whoopi's expression froze, as if she was hit by an unexpected gust of reality. She tried to defend herself, saying, "No, that's not what I meant." But the words didn't land. The more she spoke, the more she seemed to spiral. It was a moment unlike any other on The View. One of its most seasoned hosts suddenly looked cornered, outmatched, and emotionally overwhelmed. Gutfeld stood his ground, delivering punch after punch, metaphorically, of course. He brought facts, wit, and just enough smugness to shake the entire set. Whoopi, who often commands the stage with force, now appeared shaken. Her voice trembled as she tried to redirect the conversation, but the spotlight had already turned too hot. Viewers at home watched in disbelief as Whoopi's defenses collapsed on live TV. Social media exploded, with reactions ranging from support to total disbelief. "She's falling apart," one user tweeted. "This is worse than anything I've seen from her on the show before." Even her co-hosts were visibly stunned. Some tried to jump in and save her, but Gutfeld had already taken control of the moment. "This isn't about you, Whoopi," he said sharply. "It's about the facts. And sometimes those facts are uncomfortable." That line alone sent shockwaves through the studio. Whoopi looked like she had just been slapped with cold water. With each second that passed, she grew more flustered. Her usual calm and command were slipping through her fingers like sand.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No. It's not about
maybe
race.
ethnicity.
No, it's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about
What
race.
is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically stupid. Even for The View.
At one point, she even paused mid-sentence, stared into the camera, and sighed. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or cringe. Meanwhile, Gutfeld leaned back in his seat, satisfied and unbothered. His mission was clear: call out the hypocrisy and walk away unshaken. By the time the segment ended, Whoopi looked exhausted, like someone who had just survived a verbal hurricane. But the storm wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. Backstage, whispers filled the studio as producers scrambled to regain control. But the damage was done. Whoopi's emotional unraveling had become the headline of the day. Clips from the segment spread online like wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags like #Whoopi Meltdown and #Gutfeld owns the View started trending across multiple platforms. People couldn't stop watching the moment Whoopi lost her composure. Viewers rewound the footage again and again, stunned at just how quickly the situation went downhill. The contrast was striking. Gutfeld, composed and clever, versus Whoopi, flustered and defensive. It wasn't just a debate, it was a public undoing. "This is a new low for The View," one viewer commented. "I've never seen Whoopi this rattled. She was spiraling." The rest of the panel tried to pivot the conversation, but Whoopi couldn't recover. Her voice was shaky, her words clumsy, and her usual fire had fizzled out. Gutfeld, meanwhile, remained cool as ice, casually sipping his coffee as though nothing dramatic had just happened. That only made it worse. The audience in the studio was dead silent, the kind of silence that screams louder than applause. Even longtime fans of the show seemed unsure of what to think. And then came the aftershock. News outlets picked up the story within hours, with headlines blasting across the internet. "Whoopi shattered on air," and "Gutfeld destroys Goldberg in live showdown." Commentators from both sides weighed in, some defending Whoopi's emotional response, others declaring it the beginning of the end for The View's credibility. "Whoopi's not used to being challenged," said one pundit. "She's used to applause, not opposition." The moment became symbolic of something bigger: the growing disconnect between celebrity talk shows and public perception.
Yesterday on The View, otherwise known as Hell's DMV, Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, right? Wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential treatment based on...
And Whoopi, once untouchable, had just been exposed. Even fans of the show admitted it was hard to watch. "She looked like she was holding back tears," one fan confessed. "It didn't feel like debate. It felt like defeat." Meanwhile, Gutfeld returned to Fox News and addressed the moment with a grin. "I didn't plan to upset anyone," he joked. "I just brought a flashlight into a dark room." That comment alone sent another wave of reactions online. Some called him a hero, others accused him of being cruel. But no one could deny he had made an impact. On the next episode of The View, Whoopi returned with a forced smile and a noticeably tense tone. The usual laughter felt thin, like everyone was pretending nothing had happened. But the viewers hadn't forgotten. Ratings surged, not from admiration, but curiosity. Everyone wanted to see if she would snap again. Co-hosts walked on eggshells, careful not to reference the meltdown directly, but their nervous glances said it all. The atmosphere had changed. It wasn't just Whoopi's breakdown that had shaken the show. It was the realization that their bubble had been popped. The world was watching, and this time, not clapping. The show that once prided itself on bold voices had just been silenced, not by volume, but by the weight of truth crashing through the studio walls. But Whoopi insisted on pushing through, determined to save face. She tried to steer the conversation toward a new topic, but her voice still wavered. Every word she spoke felt forced, like she was trying to hold together a crumbling image. The rest of the panel, normally loud and energized, barely spoke. It was as if they knew one wrong word could cause another on-air explosion. Gutfeld, meanwhile, had already left the studio, leaving behind a trail of stunned silence. He didn't need to stay. The wreckage spoke for itself.
No. Let me explain. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff, but folks went and got them anyway, which is why I'm not telling you who made them. But can't be because I'm a woman, but perhaps they did not like my politics.
The media went wild within hours. Every news outlet replayed the moment over and over, zooming in on Whoopi's face, her stunned silence, and awkward recovery attempts. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a full reveal. The calm, confident persona she had built for years Cracked wide open on live TV, Gutfeld didn't just challenge her. He exposed a deeper truth. She couldn't handle being questioned. Even longtime fans were shaken. "It's like she got hit with reality and froze," one viewer said. She didn't know what to say. The internet exploded with memes. Some felt sorry for her, but most mocked her every blink and pause. Whoopi got whooped. One viral post read, alongside a slowed-down video of her fumbling her words. The ridicule was brutal. ABC tried to clean it up, but every statement only made things worse. Critics weren't backing off. Then a backstage audio clip leaked. And it was explosive. Whoopi was caught yelling, "You let him say that? On my show?" That clip spread like wildfire. People said it showed how rattled and unprepared she really was. What seemed like just another debate had now turned into a full-blown media firestorm. And Whoopi was at the center of it all.